Hello, ladies. It's just about 7 o'clock now, and we'll start our meeting. It's nice to see you guys. I got a question already about is there a way to ensure our phones are muted? And I don't think if you're an attendee, you don't need to worry about muting your phone. I think you should be muted. I don't think you should be able to. I don't think we should be able to hear you on the Zoom. So don't worry about that. Just a few reminders before we get going. Thank you guys for your patience. This is the first time we're doing this on the Zoom license. But like when we did this in the HD OfficeNet, please make sure you use your full name when you log into Zoom, because we'll pull a list of attendees and check that when we're determining who gets credit for attending the meeting. If you're here, you don't need to hear this, but we have a 15-minute rule in the Junior League, which is if you don't attend a meeting, if you don't make it to a meeting by the first 15 minutes, so if you're not here by 7:15, you can't get credit. And so people who log in after 7:15 won't get credit, and we can look to see to make sure you've been here for the entire meeting. So we appreciate your promptness and sitting here through the whole meeting. If you've called in on your phone, please send an email to provisional@jld.net with your full name, the phone number, and a note that you attended the October PCM, so that we can, because we won't see you on our attendee list, so we can make sure that you get your credit. And if there are questions, I think there's a chat function which you can use, but there's also a Q&A function that we'll be monitoring through the meeting. So just those are our first kind of housekeeping reminders. If you have any other questions, you can include them in the chat or the Q&A. You don't need to have your camera on, and you don't need to put your name in the chat. We will get that just for how you log on to the Zoom. So welcome to your second provisional course meeting. I can't believe it's already October. We're really excited to bring you another PCM tonight. Tonight we're focusing on the poverty intervention issue area, which is one of the 6 issue areas that the League supports. And we've got some amazing speakers for you to hear from tonight, to learn about some of the agencies that the League supports and about some of the opportunities you guys will have for volunteering when you are an active member, as well as some things that you'll be able to do right now if you want to help beyond kind of your general provisional requirements. I'm Catherine Fain. You guys have seen me a million times, your provisional chair. I wanted to give you a couple other updates. I know we talked in September about concerns about women getting credit for or being able to attend the GMMs. What we've done is we've gotten this Zoom license, which will allow up to 1,000 registrants for each meeting. So there shouldn't be issues with you not being able to sign up to attend GMMs as we go forward. The registration for the November GMM is open. You should be able to attend that. And like the provisional meetings, it's kind of a 3-step process to make sure you get credit. One, you need to register online. There's links online, and I think we've been emailing them out. You need to attend the meeting so that we see that you've shown up on as someone who attended the meeting. And then you need to fill out a survey within 3 days of the meeting. So we check your attendance, we check the registration, and we check the surveys when we're giving credit. For questions, and the process is the same for GMMs as it is for PCMs. One difference though is if you have questions about registration or credit for GMMs, you should direct them to the education committee. They're in charge of the training for the whole league, the group meetings and the GMMs. So you can email them at education@jld.net. And for us, if you have questions about the PCMs, registering, getting credit, etc., you can send another email to the handy dandy provisional@jld.net email address that we use for many things. You should have gotten emails from the provisional project chairs about provisional projects. I'm really excited about the slate of projects we have. We've got some, a variety of agencies. We've got some in-person opportunities. We've got some virtual opportunities and some projects that will involve a little bit of both. So I hope you've had a chance to look at those and register. You can no longer register online, but if you missed registration or if you need to change the project, if something happens and you can't go to the one you originally signed up for, you can email provisionalprojects@jld.net. And finally, I know that you guys are getting to meet some people in your small groups, and it sounds like those are going pretty well, although a lot of that's completely virtual. One thing I know that some of you are anxious to do is to get out in person and meet people, and I completely understand. It's a lot of the reason that people join the league is to make those social connections. One thing that we're working on is sending out a survey to kind of identify who would be willing to do in-person meetings and who would be not so comfortable doing that, because we'd like to set up some in-person and some virtual social events just for you guys to have an opportunity to meet each other and maybe make some connections and hopefully start some friendships within women in the league. So for today, the learning objectives for this meeting, our training objectives for this provisional course meeting, there's threefold. One is to learn about our poverty intervention issue area. You'll hear from the poverty issue coordinator, who will speak about the six, well, I don't know if it's six. I was that once upon a time when we had six agencies in there. The agencies in our poverty issue area. We'll hear from two of the league's partner agencies. We're going to hear from Tricia Cunningham at the North Texas Food Bank, and we're going to hear from Jessica Rood at Interfaith Family Services. So they're going to speak about what their agencies do and how they work with the Junior League. And finally, we're going to hear from our Community Outreach Committee Chair. Our Community Outreach, she'll tell you a little bit about what the committee does, but I think she's going to give an update on the sorts of things that the league has done in responding to COVID, as well as there's a fall project that's happening. So with that, I'd like to introduce Katie Ratley. She's the Poverty Intervention Issue Area Coordinator this year, and she's going to speak about what the league does in this issue area.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much. And by the way, you're completely correct. We do have 6 agencies in our pillar. But before we get into those 6 agencies, I first want to kind of set the scene and help you all understand why we have a pillar completely dedicated to poverty intervention. Catherine, next slide, please. Oh, well, actually, we should first start with our issue statement. So the League of Dallas supports efforts to break the cycle of poverty by meeting the basic needs of the economically disadvantaged. So next slide. So the reason we have a pillar dedicated just to poverty intervention is quite simply because Dallas has a lot of poverty. More than 50% of households in Dallas live on less than $50,000 per year. The national or the average for families living in poverty in Dallas is about 23%, which far exceeds the national average of 15%. Now, the main drivers for poverty are things like lack of affordable transportation, lack of education, low English proficiency, high teen birth rates, barriers to home ownership, which prevent generational wealth changes, and finally, neighborhoods that have extreme concentrated poverty. Next slide. I show you this slide to kind of segue on my last point. If you can see here, Dallas actually has extreme segregation, especially from a socioeconomic perspective. However, we do have reason to hope. So in the last few years, we've actually seen some of our poverty intervention, or excuse me, some of our poverty statistics turn around. Poverty has actually slowed down a bit, especially for children living in poverty. Furthermore, we actually support 6 amazing agencies, which are boots on the ground efforts for helping families meet their basic needs. And many of them are located at or near these red areas on this map. So next slide, please. Here we're demonstrating just a quick snapshot of every single agency that is supported by our pillar. And if we start at the top left and start moving clockwise, Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity builds quality homes for deserving families, and our volunteers actually act as construction workers. So next we have Interfaith, which provides transitional housing for homeless families. Our volunteers provide a variety of client services, such as financial counseling, and we help man the child care center. Next, we have North Texas Food Bank, which North Texas Food Bank strives for a hunger-free North Texas, and we help out in the distribution center and in mobile food pantries. So next we have Nexus Recovery Center. Nexus Recovery Center strives for a hunger-free North Texas. Nexus Recovery Center. I'm looking at my notes and trying to talk to you all at the same time, so please forgive me. Nexus Recovery Center is a substance abuse rehabilitation center that's geared towards low-income women. Our volunteers actually plan workouts and go on site and work out with different residents. Literacy Achieves equips non-English speakers with English proficiency, and our volunteers go on or actually teach their English literacy classes. And then finally, we have North Dallas Shared Ministries. North Dallas Shared Ministries is a co-op of 51 different congregations in the area that provide services and emergency financial support to those in need. Our volunteers actually go on site and provide a variety of different client services. So next slide, please. So here's a quick little quote from one of the residents at Nexus Recovery Center. If you ever want to see evidence of the actual impact that we have for those that we serve, CPS actually came on site to Nexus Recovery Center to do a routine visit because they have an adolescence program that serves young women between the ages of 12 and 17. For any of you guys out there that are teachers or spend a lot of time with younger teenage ladies, you know that there could be challenges. However, CPS kept getting the same feedback over and over again about this amazing workout program and the amazing junior league ladies that came on site to spend time with them every single week. And so this type of feedback just is much appreciated and gives a good sense of the impact that we actually have on the agencies that we serve. So in summary, I hope you guys come away today armed with the knowledge of the poverty situation in our city. In addition to the agencies in our pillar that work tirelessly to meet the needs of everyone in our community. So with that, I will go ahead and introduce our next speaker. So Tricia Cunningham is the president and CEO of the North Texas Food Bank, a $200 million not-for-profit which leads the fight against hunger in North Texas. Tricia and her team of 180 employees and thousands of volunteers work with more than 200 partner agencies from the North Texas Food Bank Feeding Network. For more than 30 years, Tricia has served her community in various capacities, most recently as Chief Citizenship Officer at TI. Her commitment to nourishing her neighbors is evident in her vast civil involvement, and when she's not volunteering time in her community, she can be found spending time with her family. It is a great honor of mine to introduce to you all Ms. Tricia Cunningham.
Well, thank you so much, Katie. And I am really honored to be here tonight. You know, I did spend 30 years at TI, and I am one of Junior League of Dallas's greatest fans. Anytime we had a young woman that wanted to get more involved in the community, I would always point them towards Junior League. And also I'm a community advisory board member, past member, I should say, and really enjoyed seeing how the Junior League works and your strategy process and just continuing to try to even get better and better and better as an organization. So that is fantastic. And, you know, we've had a relationship with the Junior League since 1991. And I was really excited to hear that because I think, you know, Katie just showed you all this data about poverty in our community. And obviously the greatest needs of those people that have those needs is food. And so if we can get them nourished and we can get them food, then we typically can help them with some of their other issues that they have as well. I also just want to welcome all the new provisional members. I really do congratulate you on your decision to join Junior League. I know that there's a lot of hours that you're spending to try to, especially during these very difficult and strange times that we're in right now. But just know that every hour you spend is making an impact and making our community stronger. So I just want to thank you for that commitment that you're making. And then Kalani Jackson, a former fellow TIer and Junior League of Dallas, is our current ex officio board member. And so Kalani and all of those who have served in that ex officio capacity on our board, I just want to thank you as well. You know, we've been really navigating uncharted territories right now because there's been so much need with the financial need, the almost instant unemployment rates that went up, and the social impact of COVID-19. I know that you were talking about meeting in person or not. I mean, those are some of the issues that really do affect families as well. But what we try to do is we're just trying to help those families make ends meet and so that they can provide for their families overall. But I'm proud to share with you how your team has also impacted this and how we are partnering together in this issue of poverty elimination and just really trying to make sure that we can have a hunger-free, healthy North Texas. So let's go on to the next slide. So I know many of you have been out to our new campus before, but for those that have not, we are in South Plano at Coit Road and George Bush Turnpike near that intersection. We do have another building in South Dallas that many of you I know have been to in the past as well. But we moved to this new facility in August of 2018. It was designed for food banking, and thank goodness we have it right now, because if we didn't, it would be very difficult, I believe, for us to be able to serve the needs that are in our community. We do serve 13 counties. Dallas County is the most in need, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But what you see out here, this is the front of our building. And I like to start by this because you see the big X that's in front. That's a sculpture by local artist Brad Oldham entitled Lulu May's Mark. So Miss Lulu May was the mother of the late Ross Perot and Betty Perot. And during the Great Depression, passersby would put an X on the curb of houses where they knew that they could go and get food. And there was an X placed on the curb of Miss Lulu May. And she would always tell her children that these are people just like us, just a little down on their luck. And I really think about that moment in history and how so many people were faced with this issue of hunger during the Great Depression. And then fast forward to now, and all the people that are facing this for the very first time. And it just really is a great symbol, I believe, to have this X on the curb of the food bank, to know that this is a little bit of hope that we're providing for our community at a time when they're a little down on their luck as well. So let's go on to the next slide. And before I go any further, we just produced a brand new video that I'm going to be debuting with you publicly for the first time. This is a little bit more about what the food bank does. We realize that a lot of people don't understand how the food banks work. A lot of them think that we're a big food pantry, but actually I call us a nonprofit logistics company. So Catherine, anytime you're ready.
You know, we want to try to help close the hunger gap in North Texas by providing access to nutritious foods. We want our community to be healthy. We want our community to be strong. So the North Texas Food Bank acquires food from many different sources. We get food from government support through many different programs there. We get it from food wholesalers, distributors, people that donate food. We purchase food, and we take all of that food and we bring it in to the North Texas Food Bank. And then we distribute that out through many different sources. We have over 200 dedicated partner agencies that 80% of our food goes through on a daily basis. Then the rest of the food goes out directly from the North Texas Food Bank. These could be senior programs or children's programs. And then our third major program that we have is our mobile pantry program. We can take our mobile units out into areas where they may not have access to food.
In a typical year, we see roughly 40,000 volunteers coming through the Perot family campus to help us sort and kit different types of food in order to get it out of the food bank and into the partner agencies and into the hands of those that need it. The first step that happens is we receive it and we take a look at it for quality. Is it expired? Is it spoiled? And we separate that out. The next thing that happens is that we'll separate it into like types. So we'll have large bins that are full of just canned green beans. After that, those large bins then that are separated by type go into smaller cartons. The cartons then are palletized, put in the warehouse. Once it's in the warehouse, it's available in an online ordering system to our partner agencies. So once they place their orders, we then will either deliver the food to them that they've ordered, or they can come pick it up from us. And obviously they do that last mile of the distribution to the actual clients for most of the food.
So Crossroads acts as a hub for the North Texas Food Bank. So the food bank sends literally truckloads of food. Then we have our own pantry in which we are standing, and we serve quite a few people through there. There's also North Texas Food Bank agencies that we serve, as well as what we call community distribution partners. And that allows for this equitable distribution and more efficient distribution throughout the community.
So when you think about the future and what's next for the food bank after we've hit the 92 million meal mark, we want to be able to sustain that. We're continuing to build on our operational efficiencies. We're continuing to be very strategic in how we're serving our community as well too, to make sure that anyone has access to the food that they need.
Awesome. Well, I hope that video sort of gave you a little bit of insight, as Catherine slides back, of what the food bank does. And I know it's hard to understand the impact, but I mean, we're distributing millions and millions of pounds of food every week, every month, every year. And, you know, the needs right now in our community are higher than they've ever been. I mean, it is at record levels. And so we can go on to the next slide. And let's talk a little bit about who we're serving. And quite honestly, the people that we're serving, they look an awful lot like you and I. I had a situation a couple of weeks ago where one of our food bankers told me that they were working a mobile distribution line, and the person that cuts their hair was in line, and she could tell whenever she lifted the trunk that she'd been living out of her car. And this is someone that she'd recently gone to get her hair cut. You know, you just never know who might be hungry that you may be serving through your service through the Junior League. Or maybe you're at a restaurant. There's been so many in the hospitality industry right now that have been impacted, or, you know, takeout. They're so grateful for that support that you have. But about 40% of our clients right now nationally, also here in North Texas, are new to charitable food assistance. And we're seeing that with our partner agencies. We have a network that we're going to talk about of about 250 partner agencies in our community that have those food pantries that people go to. And some of them are seeing double needs. It's really been crazy. And the other thing I wanted to point out as well too is that we have the poverty map that Katie showed. You saw those concentrations of the red in that map, and we do see a segregation, and people who are of color are twice as likely to be food insecure than other people. So whenever you're talking about equity, one of the things we're trying to do is making sure that we're equitably serving. So we're taking things, we usually get data from the county level. We're getting it down to the zip code level and trying to understand what the services are for people, even at the zip code level, so that we can continue to serve them. But right now we have about 1 in 5 in our community overall that is food insecure, and that includes 1 in 4 children. We were actually making progress and before COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, the needs went up greater than ever. So let's go on to the next slide. And this is just the 13 counties that we serve. You see that we go all the way up to the Oklahoma border and down a couple of counties past Dallas. But it's about a 10,000 square mile area, founded back in 1982. So we're coming up on our 40th anniversary very soon. We are a member of the larger network called Feeding America, which I call it sort of like a trade association. We were involved in a lot of trade associations at TI, but they help us to make sure that we have a common standard, and they do audits of us, and we make sure that we're following their guidelines overall. One of the great things that actually drew me to the food bank was the fact that 95% of our contributions actually do go to feeding programs. And so we keep our overhead very low, so that way we can maximize the resources that we have for our community. And $1 can provide access to 3 meals overall. And at a time when the needs have skyrocketed here, that's super important to make sure that we can do as much as we can with the food and the funds and labor, because all those costs have increased overall. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. I think probably most people have seen the lines of people that have come out to a lot of our mobile distributions. And the reason why we have these mobile distributions that we do within TFB is because we know that our partner agency network that have those community pantries have been overwhelmed as well. They are working extremely hard trying to make sure that there's food on the table for those that need it. And they have programs as well and services that can help to serve those hungry neighbors. So you heard about those root cause issues, sometimes lack of education, or could be they're underemployed, or maybe they aren't using their skills, or maybe they do need transportation. Our partner agencies can often help them with those additional issues that they may have to help get them back on feet, because we know that what may work for one neighbor may not work for another neighbor. And so we try to make sure that we help support them and give them the access to the healthy food that they need while they're trying to help their neighbors in need. And when the pandemic hit, those needs just really have been so great overall. And I just want to applaud our partner agencies in our community, because most of them stayed open during even the early times, where there were other communities across the country that they closed just because of health risks, because many of their volunteers were older and it was a great concern to them. We only had a handful closed, and most of them are open again now. These pictures are quite daunting, and I've heard a lot of people say, oh, that they're just there for the handout. Well, I don't think you get in line at 1:45 in the morning for a $20 box of food unless you really need it. And we host several of these, and we see people come up, and just the gratitude. And you look in the back seats and you see the kids in the car, and just know that they're there because they're hungry and they need access to that food to feed their families. We had a gentleman come through one of the distributions recently that he asked if they could not put the boxes in the car, just put the food in the car and not the boxes. And he had some Kroger bags in his car, and he was going to put the food in the Kroger bags, so that way his family didn't know that he had to go through and get the food because they were about out of money that week. We serve typically at one of these mobile distributions before COVID about 200 to 300 families. Now with COVID, we're serving 1,000 to 2,000 households per distribution, depending on where the site is. But it's extremely gratifying. I know that this is one of the opportunities that you can help with. We do have volunteer opportunities every day, Monday through Friday, typically for the mobile pantries, for out in the community. And you're outside, we do still require you to wear a mask, and you're able to go out and put those boxes of pre-kitted food, nutritionally balanced, in cars and households that need them. And many of them actually have children that are in need as well. So let's go to the next slide. We always are trying to anticipate future needs and demand, because as this slide shows, food insecurity is on the rise. Feeding America, that larger organization, they do that annual analysis of food insecurity. And while we were making that great progress before, with the coronavirus pandemic, it's changing everything in all 50 states. So according to those research projections after COVID, Texas is one of the top 10 states with the highest rates of projected food insecurity for 2020. That's a 5.2% increase in percentage points prior to the data that we had before, which is a 2018 report, which is a 35% increase overall. Looking down and drilling down at Dallas County, it's projected to have the 5th highest number of total food insecure people and children in the country. Dallas County, out of all the counties across the country, has the 5th highest number. That's just crazy to me, that whenever you really think about that, about 500,000 people in Dallas County are food insecure. And Junior League is always focused on helping children in Dallas. And sadly, it's one of the most vulnerable populations impacted by COVID. You've seen the long-term school closings, and the economic instability of families has greatly increased childhood hunger. And you can see the stats there for Texas overall, as well as for our 13 county service area. We were so proud of the progress that was being made before COVID, and it just shows how fragile I believe our community is with the issues that we had. Most people don't have savings to be able to withstand more than a $400 impact. And this was greater than a $400 impact. So let's move on to the next slide. So what you can see is that the fallout from the pandemic is not going away anytime soon when it comes to hunger. We have been working with consultants with the Boston Consulting Group and with McKinsey, and we've been told to try to brace for increased needs for probably the next 2 years. And we really won't have a clear picture of what that looks like for a while because there's so many unknowns right now. You know, when is there going to be a vaccine? When is unemployment going to get better? Is there going to be additional stimulus support? We know at the food bank, they've told us right now, a lot of folks from the advocacy side, that we had been relying on a lot of government food, and a lot of that's going away. By the end of the year, we probably aren't going to have additional resources from the government unless, you know, something else comes up. But right now we've been told not to count on it. And it's extremely expensive to be able to respond to this. We are looking at our COVID related expenses from March through September, so not even a year. And the value of that is about $40 million. And our typical budget, just so you know, pre-COVID was about $25 million for a full year. So you can see how quickly that goes away. But we are sorting and packing foods. On Saturdays, we have started to slowly open up these opportunities for volunteers. The main thing is we need to have a consistent stream of volunteers before we can open up all the time during the week as well. So we do have an initiative called Get Shift Done that we're still using during the week, but on Saturdays, we do have opportunities for people in the community to volunteer, and you can find those on our website. And we've already talked about the volunteer opportunities at the mobile pantry distributions as well. And they may look a little different right now, the volunteer opportunities, but it is one of the ways that really does help us. And it's a way that I know that I've always loved to see the Junior League members come and volunteer at the food bank. They're hardworking. They do it because of their heart. And it's very effective to be able to have those volunteers in the warehouse to help us. So let's go on to the next slide. And we'll talk a little more about the North Texas Food Bank and Junior League. I already mentioned that we have worked together since 1991 and primarily on the children's programs. We've had a focus on our Food for Kids program and our general child programs. We also do the school pantry programs as well, because we know if the child is hungry, then the family is hungry as well. And through the time that we've worked together, you've contributed more than $300,000 since that 1991 time. And over the past 5 years, we've had 168 Junior League members that have volunteered a total of almost 4,200 hours. That's just really incredible. That shows your dedication. You know, back whenever I was at TI, I always said it takes investment plus involvement to make an impact. And we know that you are making an impact on some of these key issues in our community that are so critical. So thank you for doing that and for raising this awareness overall. And let's go on to the next slide. And this is Rich. You know, just so you know how you're making an impact, through your support, we're able to support these partner agencies with additional food. And this is Rich. He came to one of our partner agencies up in Wiley, and he shared a story that, you know, he was let go and needed some extra help. He had a couple of teenagers and he needed some food support. He really didn't know where to turn, but he had seen the Amazing Grace Food Pantry that was really just down the street from him. And he really expressed his gratitude to the people there. The Amazing Grace Food Pantry is always our goal, to treat people with dignity and respect, no matter what's going on in their lives. And that's why we think that, you know, we are providing hope whenever we provide food. And that's certainly what Rich said that he found from the Amazing Grace Food Pantry. So we'll go to the next slide. I think this is my final slide. And I just want to say thank you. You know, this season has certainly been an emotional journey for us, but I know for you as well. You've seen things that are happening in your community, but it's because of partners like the Junior League that we are able to continue on with our work. It does take a village. It does take thousands of people to make sure that we can get food on the table. So I just want to say thank you for your commitment to serving our community and partnering with the North Texas Food Bank. I think that's it on the presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Tricia. We really appreciate you coming and talking with us. I did if anybody has any questions, I see some coming in. Hang on, let's see what we got. Question, would it be possible to talk about the non-food options, i.e. diapers, wipes, etc., that we can contribute to the food bank?
Actually, we are focused on food, nutritious food. Some of our partner agencies do collect those items and distribute, but we have a fleet of about 30 trucks, and it's really most important to make sure that we meet those most basic of needs. And we do get some of those things in, and we do offer them to our partner agencies, but we think it's most important to use the resources to be able to distribute food. We're sending out full trucks out to these partner agencies, and that's what they want most from us is food. They go to other resources to try to get those other non-food items.
All right, I haven't gotten any more questions. Anybody else? Otherwise, we can. Oh, Tricia, what are the items that you stand in need of the most that can help families? Also, if we wanted to make a financial contribution, what's the best way to do that? What are the items that?
That's a great question. I see Stephanie. Thank you for asking that. Good to see your name up there. But always think about those pantry staples and things that would be healthy. So think about peanut butter, canned tuna, fruit in its own juice, low sodium vegetables. Those are always things that we can use because those are some of the staples that we can always put in. We don't take fresh items or produce or things from individuals, but those are great. We've had a lot of people transition how they're giving food. Many of them are doing virtual food drives, or they're just doing contributions online, knowing that money is going to help us to be able to purchase what we need. You can donate at ntfb.org/donate. So that's really easy. And if you do a canned food drive, I see how do food drop-offs work. We do have a canned food drive door at our facility at 3677 Maple Shade in Plano, where you can drive up and you can drop it off there. And I see, when can we start volunteering? Go online to ntfb.org/volunteer, and you can see on our calendar what's available and what schedule. So it's very possible you could start volunteering tomorrow if you wanted to at one of our mobile distributions.
All right, thank you so much again for coming and talking with us. We really, really, really appreciate you taking your time, because I know it's been crazy and you've been very busy. So I really appreciate it, Tricia.
Thank you so much, and thanks for all you guys do. I know you've got more, so I will talk to you later.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Right, and now we're going to move on to our bus tour section of the meeting, and Mandy Cook is going to kick that off for us. So I'll let her get going.
Yeah, so hi guys. I am here to introduce Jessica Rood from Interfaith Family Services. She is their Director of Development, and she's also a Junior League member. So with that, we'll kick it over to her, and if we can get her slides up, that'd be great.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Hi, thanks, Mandy. All right. Like Mandy said, my name is Jessica Rood. I am the Director of Development at Interfaith Family Services, which means that all things related to fundraising, grant writing, special events, volunteers, marketing, and PR fall under my purview and the purview of my awesome team. As Mandy shared, I'm also a member of the Junior League of Dallas. This is my third active year. I joined the league whenever I moved to Dallas. So just a couple of years ago, I was in your shoes. So I'm especially excited to be with you guys tonight and share about Interfaith and our mission. For the time that we have together, I want to give you a brief history of our mission and our history, but I really want to focus on the need, just like Tricia did, as well as opportunities to get involved as soon as possible or in the future through the league. Next slide, please. Great, thank you. So Interfaith Family Services was founded in 1985, which makes 2020 our 35th anniversary year. It has certainly been a year of equal celebration and challenge due to the pandemic, but we are really proud to have a 35-year history serving families here in Dallas. We were originally founded to provide transitional housing to families. So we were established in response to the mayor's initiative to end homelessness here in Dallas at that time. Obviously, a lot has changed over those 35 years. We have evolved to, meet the growing need among families and for family homelessness. Oh, there we go. Thank you. So now we not only provide transitional housing for families that are homeless, but we also provide other wraparound self-sufficiency services like counseling, career coaching and job trainings, financial coaching, and childcare. And our mission is to empower families in crisis to break the cycle of poverty. And I'll just give you guys a note as well. The name Interfaith actually comes from the fact that we were originally established by two local churches here in Dallas, North Park Presbyterian Church and First Presbyterian Church of Dallas. Some of you all may be members of the congregation. And so when we were established 35 years ago, we actually had our first CEO recruited to come down here from Missouri. His name was Ben Belzer. He passed away just a few years ago, but he was a wonderful, wonderful man. And he and his family actually experienced homelessness themselves. Ben had been a very successful businessman in Missouri until his business partner emptied their bank account. So it's kind of a take the money and run situation. And really that goes to show that homelessness can strike anyone, anytime. And as Tricia shared during her presentation, the people that we serve don't look all that different from you or I. And so we really want to help to elevate these families and help them break the cycle of poverty for good versus just putting a Band-Aid on the situation. So that's what we do all day, every day. And we love our work. So we'll go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So how do we empower families in crisis to break the cycle of poverty? And if you can click 3 times, please. I've got 3 little text box up there. Thank you so much. So this is what we call the family empowerment formula. So we start by eliminating barriers. So if that barrier is housing, if a family is homeless, then we house them in one of the 23 apartments that we have. We own those completely and they're nearby our campus. So we have those apartments. They're all 1 bedrooms. They're fully furnished and lovingly decorated. And if a family is sleeping in their car or in a shelter or even just couch surfing among family and friends, that's not a really stable situation for them or for their children. And it also can be really traumatic for the kiddos especially. So we want to step in and help eliminate that housing barrier by offering them an apartment. We also help with the employment aspect. So that comes through the job training and job placement assistance that I mentioned. And of course, any financial barriers for families. So we expanded about 3 years ago to not just have the actual housing component, but to also serve families who are at great risk for homelessness, meaning that if they have received an eviction notice or they lost their job and know that they won't be able to pay their rent next month, we will provide emergency assistance to kind of bridge that gap and ensure that the family is not out on the street. And so we can really be more preventative when we work that way. And so that is a way that our program has, really expanded over the recent years. For both parents that are either homeless or at risk for homelessness, we offer counseling, that career coaching services, financial coaching, and life skills training for parents. That includes cooking classes and meal prep classes. That includes parenting tips and tricks, even meditation and yoga classes now offered virtually, just to be sure that we are really serving families holistically and helping them not just get those hard skills, but also just live a better, healthier, happier life for the family all around. And then the third part of the family empowerment formula, as you can see on the screen, is educating children. So it's really important that we help parents overcome their current state of poverty, but we actually want to position children to break the cycle. So a lot of times these families are coming from generational poverty, even though they are working. And so if we can educate children by offering extra tutoring support, academic support, counseling and play therapy, and just in general opportunities for them to explore their interest and know what possibilities they have in their future, whether that's college or trade school or other arts that they enjoy. We just want to make sure that we can expose the children to as much as possible and let them know that the life that they have right now is not their future set in stone. They have so many more options ahead of them. And so when we put all 3 of those components together, we empower working poor families to truly break the cycle of poverty. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the clients that we serve, each year we serve 50 homeless families with children, like I said, in those apartments that we have. That's our residential program. In order to be eligible for our programs, all families do have to have at least one child under age 18 in their legal and physical custody. So for the apartments, we can host up to a family of 5. So that could be one parent, 4 kiddos, or 2 parents, 3 kids. And that is, like I said, about our capacity is about 50 families a year. And we have recently expanded with that rental assistance program that I mentioned. That's the emergency financial assistance to help families avoid homelessness. We can serve up to 200 families a year doing that. I'll talk a little bit more about our new Family Empowerment Center, which has made that possible in a few slides. But this year, our goal is to serve 250 families, either through housing or rental assistance and all the other services that I mentioned. About 90% of our families are headed by single mothers. That is not a requirement. We also serve single father households and 2-parent households, but that's typically the kind of the core of the demographic that we serve are single mothers with children under 18. And 100% of families are at or below the poverty line upon program entry. And I think most recently in Texas, that poverty line is between 24 and 26,000 for a family of 4, which is pretty crazy to think about. So most of our families are well below that when they enter the program, and we help them to move past that threshold of working poor into working class and hopefully into the middle class later on in their lives. Next slide, please. So the need, obviously the need is so great. It's no secret, especially right now with the pandemic. Everything is really kind of in your face and visual. There's no question about the need, but the truth is that these needs have been really persistent for working poor families for many, many years. A couple of years ago, our agency Interfaith did an employment study, and we found that the top challenges for working poor families were living wages. So when I say working poor, that means that mom or dad or both are working 40 hours a week or more, but they're not making a living wage. So that recently was about $15 per hour, but now with inflation and high housing costs, that's actually calculated to be around $21 per hour, which is pretty high. So our families aren't able to earn enough to afford housing or childcare, which is a huge cost. They also lack financial knowledge, and many of us probably did when we got out of high school. That is not something that is shared or taught very widely unless you are very blessed to have parents or mentors who are financially stable and financially wise. Then we miss a lot of those skills. And so a lot of these families just never have had somebody pour into them and to share that knowledge. So that's also a barrier for them. And last but not least, transportation is also a barrier, especially for those parents who really desire to go back to school or to get additional certifications to help elevate their earning potential at their current job or to switch fields. They need transportation to get there, and they need childcare during that time, and they need it to be available in the evenings or on the weekends when they're not working. And all those issues really compound and make it difficult for families to pull themselves out of poverty. On the second bullet, you see that women are twice as likely as men to experience poverty, and a single mother-led household is almost 4 times more likely to experience poverty than 2-parent households. That is largely due to the wage gap, the gender wage gap and wage disparity. About 63% of Texas mothers are working, but earn 86 cents for every dollar that men earn, and Black and Hispanic women are paid even less. And those last 3 bullet points are from an economic issues for Texas women report that was published earlier this year from the Texas Women's Foundation. It is, sadly, it's not surprising the things that are revealed in that report, but it really crystallizes the fact that services like Interfaith are deeply, deeply needed during the pandemic and beyond. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the need is so great. It's a very dark and dismal picture, unfortunately. Sadly, the family homelessness has only grown. It's actually grown about 60% since 2000, which is a pretty rapid growth. And a lot of people don't realize that family homelessness is so widespread and rampant because more often than not, those that you see who may be on the corner or sleeping on the streets are typically single individuals typically older, but family homelessness is huge. And so we want to be sure that we can actually elevate those individual families and really improve our workforce and improve our community overall. So we are all about our interfaith impact, and we're data driven. So every year we publish our outcomes from our programs, and these are the 5 bullets. They're 5 self-sufficiency outcomes that we measure our success by. So the first outcome is sustainable income. And these are just calculated for the year, our 2020 fiscal year, which was October of 2019 through September of this year. So it just ended. 88% of all of the parents that we served exited our program with employment at $16.12 per hour. And that's actually an average. So some of them were earning even more than that. And typically they're coming into the program making $9 to $13 an hour. So that's an additional about $10,000 per year, which can really improve the quality of life and the opportunities for not just parents, but also the kids. The second bullet point, our second self-sufficiency outcome, is stable housing. 94% of our families exited with permanent housing, which means that they went into non-subsidized, non-Section 8 housing. We typically do see some families that exit into Section 8, but that's one of our goals, is that they will not do that. About 3 years ago, we made the decision to make our funding 100% private, meaning that we wouldn't receive any government funding either at the state level or the federal level for providing housing and resources for families. That was done because we wanted to really model, what we wanted for our clients. We wanted to walk what we talked. And so if we wanted to encourage our families to be able to live self-sufficiency without any subsidized, food stamps or childcare or housing vouchers, and we had to do that same thing. So it's been a really awesome time to see that percentage kind of go up every year. So 94% of our families exiting into permanent housing was a huge feat for us this past year. The third bullet point is the savings safety net. 72% of all of our families exited with savings, averaging about $1,400, which is, again, pretty amazing considering that when they come in, they don't have any savings. In fact, they typically have debt that is related to previous evictions or other housing related debt. So it's actually a requirement during our program that they have to save and reduce debt if they have debt while they're in their program. They save 30% of their income from every paycheck. And then at the end of that time that they're in our program, we refund that money back to them. So when they graduate from our program, they have what we call the savings safety net. The fourth bullet point is a sustainability plan. 84% of our families had a long-term career plan. That just helps to ensure that they have some direction, whether that's continuing education, getting more certifications, or even just trying to make transitions and promotions within their field to obtain the best hours for their family or the best healthcare possible for their kids. We want to help them set that path out as well. And then last but not least, we want to focus on success in school for the kiddos. So while mom or dad is focusing on success in life, their children are getting academic support via tutoring and other opportunities to improve their math and reading scores. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so this is our brand new, it feels brand new, 1-year-old Family Empowerment Center. We are located in the Lower Greenville area. Some of you may live around that area, may have driven by before. We are just one side street off of the intersection of Ross and Greenville Avenue. So we used to have a very tiny house. You can barely see it in one of the photos. And all of our services used to be provided there. And now we have over 100,000 square feet of new space. We have training rooms, classrooms, financial coaching suites, an adult computer lab, a youth computer lab, a children's library. We have an on-site pantry, a professional clothing boutique, and all of that is open during our operating hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and after school for the kiddos. So the picture on the left-hand side of the screen is our Moody Family Child Care Youth Services Center. Our Junior League volunteers volunteer there for after-school programs. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, that's our adult education facility. That's where those coaching and training sessions take place. And that is where our food pantry is, and financial coaching takes place as well. Next slide. Thank you. So I want to share with you all a little bit about possible JLD placements if you are interested in serving at Interfaith next year. And I apologize, I've got a dog who's hearing other dogs bark outside. So if he pops on the screen, I hope you enjoy seeing him. So this is our new home coordinator position. It is probably the most coveted volunteer opportunity among the Junior League as well as among the community because it's so much fun. So in our apartments, we have a turnover period of about 2 weeks whenever a family moves out and graduates to their own permanent housing and a new family that was formerly homeless moves in. And so there is just a period of kind of rearranging, deep cleaning, and redecorating for the family dynamic. So you can see in the photo, this family had 2 little girls. One was a little bit older. She was in her early teens, and the other one was 7 years old. She was adorable. And then we set up mom's bed, which was queen size in the living room. So it's a super fun opportunity. It's a flexible schedule, and you get to really have that designer eye and put things together and create a really loving, warm, welcoming home for a homeless family. So this is an opportunity for you guys in the future if you want to join our Junior League volunteers. Next slide, please. Another opportunity you have is a resident mentor. So the best way to describe this position is it's actually a financial coach. We don't use the term financial coach because it's not very sexy. It's not very attractive. It's hard to get people to sign on to be a financial coach. It sounds very boring, but it actually is one of the most impactful opportunities you can have because you get to develop a relationship and a friendship with a client, a hardworking mom or dad who's really working to get themselves on the right path in terms of finances and career. And you also get to see them save and reduce debt out of every single paycheck. So you're not just working towards this toiling and meeting every week and not seeing any fruit. That family, when they graduate, actually has reduced debt. They have saved and they have financial goals that they're working towards, and you help them to take steps towards that. So those opportunities are once per week. Right now they're virtual. So in the future, we may be able to do kind of a hybrid. You could do in-person or virtual, and you meet with the same client every single week, like I said, so you can develop that friendship and mentorship. And we provide all of the curriculum and direction to you. You don't have to have any knowledge in finance. If you do, it's a great plus, but the curriculum is really easy to follow and really impactful. And next slide. And then our third and last opportunity for Junior League volunteers is Children's Champion. So if you are a Children's Champion, you come in the evenings and you help do some one-on-one tutoring, assistance. You can cook meals and provide meals for the after-school program, or just generally be around to coordinate games, do crafts, and you get to hang out in our beautiful new Moody Family Childcare and Youth Services Center. Again, this is a super fun way to spend your time. The kiddos are great. They love to be in our program and in our building. Sometimes you can't get them to leave. They want to hang out for so long. So if you have a gift with children, this is definitely an opportunity for you. And last but not least, next slide, please. I know that you all are just itching, chomping at the bit and wanting to know how you can help Interfaith right now. So the first thing that you can do is donate items. So if you can look at these pictures, you see our professional clothing boutique on the left-hand side of the screen, and on the right-hand side, our food pantry. So we accept donations anytime that our business is open, which is 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Just pull up in the Circle Drive, drop them off. And we do accept professional clothing, like I said. So anything that is just new or gently worn, that will help us to really dress our clients for success and make sure that they feel their best and look their best going into job interviews and first days on the job. And if you don't mind going back one slide, I think we skipped over one, unless I'm forgetting. Nope, we'll go forward, see if it's in there somewhere. Thank you. Okay, how you can help now, adopt a family. So this is a great opportunity to pair a financial donation with a volunteer opportunity. So I mentioned that we have families moving in, just kind of ebbing and flowing throughout the year. And whenever a family moves in, we always love to pair them with a sponsor. So a sponsor provides a $5,000 gift. So this can be with your family, your company, your church, or any other small group of friends to help just walk alongside a family in the program. You get to help decorate their apartment and invite them into their apartment when they are welcomed home for the first time. And then you also get monthly updates on the family, how they're doing the program, everything from successes and challenges and ways to pray to how much they have saved or reduced debt, and as they're working towards their career goals and their graduation goals. So like I said, it's a great hybrid opportunity to provide financial support to the organization as well as volunteer. It does cost our organization about $1.7 million a year to house homeless families. So these sponsorships are really crucial to helping us have the boots on the ground and have the resources to serve those homeless families to the best of our ability. Next slide, please. And then we also have an online Hope store. So I know if you guys are like me, you want to go out and shop, but you try to be smart and safe and you stay inside and you online shop. So we have an online store called the Hope Store. We have these 3 t-shirt designs. Each purchase helps families who are fighting homelessness and going through our program. So we have a few different themes on the t-shirts. Just visit our website and search the Hope Store. Next slide. And last but not least, in my role as Director of Development, I would be not doing a good job if I didn't ask you to follow us on social media, like our posts, share our posts, and also keep up with our updates on ways to get involved, volunteer, and events and things like that. So we are on all of these social media platforms as well as LinkedIn, and a lot of fun information is shared there. And I think that's my last slide. I am definitely open to any questions via chat or send me an email later. And I think I mentioned our campus is in the Lower Greenville area. So if you ever want to stop by and do a tour, we're doing them very safely now with distancing and mask. I'd love to meet you guys in person.
Jessica, thank you so much. It's so great to have one of our own league members working at one of our agencies to share the different opportunities that our members have working with Interfaith. We did have one question. We had a member ask, on average, how long do families or individuals stay at your housing facilities? Do you know the—
Great question. Yes. So typically families stay between 6 to 9 months in our housing. So that's the difference between transitional housing, which is a little bit longer term, versus emergency shelters, which may be what comes to mind if when you think of homeless individuals, you may think emergency shelters, day shelters, or soup kitchens. Basically that variation in how long families stay, it typically depends on whether or not mom or dad comes in with employment, or if they are currently unemployed and seeking work. That of course takes a little bit more time to go through some trainings and the job application process. So that could be up to about 9 months. And our case management team is amazing. So they're checking in with the families every single week, sometimes more than once a week. And they also have career coaches, financial coaches, and the teachers and counselors alongside them as well.
And we have one other question. I know we're running a little bit long, but when one of our other provisionals asked, you mentioned about career services that are offered to the families. I have experience as a resume writer and career coach. Is that something she could help with at Interfaith?
Yeah, absolutely. So we sometimes have our junior league financial coaches kind of do a hybrid role. And so again, we provide any resources or support that you may need, but especially if you have experience in career coaching, hosting mock interviews or editing resumes, that is super helpful for our clients. They work with our on-staff career coach every single day. And so whenever we have someone from the community come in and share their expertise, that's that much more energizing for the client. So that's an opportunity for you now if you want to get plugged in, or in the future as a resident mentor. That's also an opportunity.
And the last question I think is an interesting one, and then we'll move on. But one of our provisionals asked, is there a faith requirement to volunteer at Interfaith?
There is not a faith requirement, no. So I mentioned that we were founded and we were named actually Interfaith Housing Coalition at the time in 1985. And that just has reflected that a lot of churches have come together to support us over the years, both in our establishment and since then with funding and volunteer hours. But there is no faith requirement to be a volunteer or to be a client. We accept families and volunteers of any faith or no faith at all. So we just want to, serve our community to the best of our ability and serve as many families as possible. So all are welcome.
Thank you so much, Jessica. We really appreciate your time tonight and hearing more about Interfaith. So if you guys have questions, you can reach out to Jessica or learn more about Interfaith as we talk about community placements as we move into this latter part of the junior league year as we start planning for next year already. But I wanted to thank you. And then I also wanted to introduce our next speaker. We have Ashley Bernecki, who is our community outreach chair with the league. Ashley, you're here. Let me get your slides going and we'll hear from you, and then we'll finish up after Ashley's presentation.
All right. Hey there. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right. So I'm Ashley Bernecki. So I'm Community Outreach Chair this year. And just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of an overview of what our committee does. So if you'll go to the next slide. So here's kind of our committee mission statement, but basically what we do is we respond to community needs in two different ways. So one, we have our community assistance fund. So this is emergency funding. So this would be an agency comes to us, it's an emergency, something happened, and they're requesting fund that this can dollars in a junior league year, June 1st to June 1st. And then they also have to, hit a couple of other requirements. They have to be serving clients in Dallas or Dallas County, and also has to hit like a critical human need. And then the other part of what the community does is special projects. And so these, we have a fall, winter, and spring special project. And if we'll go to the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit more about them. All right, so this year we've received 7, we'll go to the community assistant fund slide. So this year we've received 7 CAF requests. And so far we have, these are the 3 that we've not selected, but the 3 that we've approved. So one is Mary Crowley Cancer Research for $3,000. And this is for like PPE supplies. The next one would be Resource Center. This was for groceries for their food pantry. And then Interfaith that we just heard about, they had requested food specifically for their programs. So all of the requests that we have so far this year have been COVID related. Those requests could be, differently, but a lot of things that we've been seeing is for food. And so what we kind of, some parameters for this is, is it an emergency need? Like, would there be problems in their funding? Or, their programs if they didn't have this funding? And then is it hitting that critical human need? So those are things that we look in, and we also kind of look into an organization's financial health as well. So if we'll go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more about special projects. All right, so these are actually pictures from projects last year. So the one on the left is we donated uniforms. This was our fall special project. We donated uniforms to 2 Dallas ISD schools. So we partnered with Dallas ISD and kind of, asked for maybe some schools that could use some uniforms. And so we were able to donate as part of our fall project. For our winter project last year, we did, we collected basic needs. So this was something that the league members, you were able to like donate and, bring to headquarters. We had an Amazon wish list. And so what we did was made basic needs boxes for Suit Mobile, and then we wrapped them up so they were part of, like a Christmas gift. So those are things that we did last year. And if you'll go to the next slide, I'll tell you what we're going to do for the fall project. So this project that we're partnering with is for Oak Cliff. And so they're a South Dallas agency aiming to liberate Oak Cliff from systemic oppression. So their programs are, educational in nature, and that could be for middle schoolers or high schoolers, and also adults. So helping them, attain their GED. They also have a food pantry. And so what we're doing with them, which is a virtual program, is we're asking you to create some kind of video, short in nature, 60 to 90 seconds. And it's going to be career focused or school focused. So really you can pick if you want to, focus more on, what you're doing as a career or what you went to school for if you're still going to school. We just want to showcase to these students that anything is possible. So there should be some details that were sent out today through QuickSight, and then we'll be taking these until November 1st. And then if you have any questions or anything, you can, definitely reach out to me, but we are going to follow up these videos with a kind of career day panel. And so it'll be, a curated panel of JLD speakers, and they'll be talking to like the students via Zoom. And then to kind of finalize this project, we're going to be making a donation to the agency that they're going to be using for technology and educational supplies for the students. So that could be, hotspots and Chromebooks, or it could be, pencils and papers, kind of discretionary how they would like to use it. So that's kind of all I have. If you want to go to the next slide, and if you have any questions about this fall project, we would love for everyone to create a video. This doesn't have to be any big production or anything. You could do it selfie style. You can get a friend to do it. But if you want more details about that, you can email me, outreach@jld.net. We have a little flyer of all the information you would need to create these videos. And if you have any questions, outreach in general, then definitely let me know. I always like to talk about anything Junior League. So
thank you so much, Ashley. That sounds like an exciting project and something that's easy for all of our members to do and participate in. So I think that'll be a great project for Junior League to work on. So I appreciate your time and sharing with us tonight. That is the end of our program tonight. I am here. I don't know if we have any questions that are in the chat or in the Q&A, or if anyone has any questions, if you want to ask them now, I'm happy to answer questions or get back to you. There are, I'm not seeing any, so I'm going to move on to the next slide. If you'll recall from the first meeting or from the beginning of this meeting, to get credit for this meeting, you will need to fill out a survey. We've got the 2 QR codes right here. If you're here right now, the live code will take you to the survey for this meeting. It will be open for 3 days, and then it will be closed. And you just need to fill out the quick survey for us to know that you attended, and we will give you credit. If you're watching this on the replay, you please use the QR code on the right. That's the replay code. It's a different survey just for us to keep track of who went to which meeting. So seeing no questions, I will leave that slide up for a minute. But thank you guys so much for attending. We look forward to seeing you at the November PCM. And as always, if you have any questions, reach out to your small group advisor or email provisional@jld.net, and we will get back to you. So thank you so much, and hope you guys all have a great October. I'm also seeing questions about the survey link in the chat box, and I really apologize. I don't have it ready to put in the chat box. I don't know if Brandy, if she's still on, if she could do it. I will send an email out tonight to everyone who registered for this meeting with a link to the survey. I'm so sorry about that. It was on my list and it just didn't happen. But if you put your phone and hold it up to your screen, and turn on the camera and put that circle in the screen of your camera, it should take you to the link for the survey. You may have to log into jld.net. The survey will not open. Okay, well, we'll work on that and send out the link by email. So thank you guys so much. I will get that out as soon as I can.